Welcome to the Lessons from Sports podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Partello, and one of my favorite things about what I've gotten to do in my career are the people that I get to work with and interact with and build relationships with. And today's conversation is with a guy that I met during my time with the Miami Dolphins. He was an offensive lineman, ended up doing 7 years in the NFL, an incredible NFL career for anybody. But Nate, what's amazing about Nate Garner is he had no aspirations of ever even playing football, never even thought about going to the NFL, and he shares all of that. He also shares sort of the untold story of playing in the NFL, right? Getting traded at the last second and having to catch that flight to get to Miami, building a life for yourself as an NFL player, and then what it's been like post. Nate shares some really challenging times that he went through, some injuries that he went through and that he's had to battle through, and just how far down into that darkness he went. I didn't know any of that. He shared it with me for the first time here, and you're going to sort of see the surprise on my face as he does share that. But I'm really excited and for you to hear this conversation, but also super honored that Nate took the time to share it with all of us. So enjoy this conversation with my buddy, Nate Garner.
I got to tell you, I'm fired up for this conversation because, first of all, you and I haven't seen each other in, 10 years now?
At least 10, 11 years. Yeah, it's been a while.
Wow. We crossed paths the Miami Dolphins, my buddy Nate Garner, and I'll let you tell your story because God knows you'll tell it better than I can. But part of this journey for me in the Lessons from Sports podcast is some of the amazing people that I've gotten to interact with through my career that I always go, I was so lucky that I got to just talk to that person and engage with that person and learn little things. And, you were someone I've stayed in touch with through the years, just quick little like Instagrams back and forth. And you were someone I was excited to get on the sort of first run of this. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your story, where you came from and then all the way up to what you're doing today.
Oh man, that's a long story. You have enough time for that?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Well, hey, I'm just a country boy from Arkansas, man. I grew up in at a little small town, about 500 people. Ended up going to high school.
500 people.
Yeah, 500 people. Little town called Roland, Arkansas. So I got tricked into playing football when I was in 8th grade. I was signed up for computer class. Always been a computer nerd my whole life, and I got tricked into it. Ended up being the biggest kid in school, and kind of did all right. Did all right in middle school, high school. Made it through my first 2 years in high school, 10th and 11th grade. Got a scholarship offer to the University of Arkansas after my 11th grade season, going into spring ball my junior year. Ended up breaking my foot first play of the season my senior year of high school. So I missed my entire senior year of high school. Like literally played one play. That's it.
Wow.
So did that.
Very Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, it was crazy. First play. Yeah, very, very similar.
Wow.
So Arkansas honored my scholarship. I got the opportunity to go up there. I ended up getting up there my freshman year of school. I blew my shoulder out in training camp. So back-to-back injuries, simultaneous injuries. And I was out for the whole year for that one. And then I ended up not touching the field again until my 4th year in college. Yeah. So I didn't touch the field.
Wow.
Went in.
And how does that work, Nate? Sorry, quick. How does that work with a scholarship? So they have the choice to honor it or not honor it at that point? Or because you got injured? Back
then it was, hey, you get 4 or 5 years. If you redshirt, it's 5 years. That's how they kind of did it. It was on a year-to-year basis, but the way Coach Nutt ran everything at Arkansas was once you're there, you're there. You're not going to get kicked off the team.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Especially for guys that were from Arkansas. He wanted to honor that.
Okay.
That was the reason why they honored my scholarship, too. They were just very dedicated to the state of Arkansas, so it was pretty cool. I went out the next year, and I was like, hey, I'm just going to go out and have fun, do whatever I can do to be the best that I can be, and ended up getting an opportunity to freaking ball out. I started every single game that year, led the team in knockdowns, tied the record that a first-round draft pick out of Arkansas had for knockdowns in a game, ended up getting 18 in one game, which is freaking crazy. I honestly had no idea I had a chance to play in the NFL. None. I already had a job lined up after school.
Come on.
Yeah, we went and played the Cotton Bowl my senior year. And I go to the hotel after the game, have my parents there. They're like, hey, these two guys came up and talked to us during the game, and they want to meet with you. and it's 2 agents. And so I ended up meeting with one of them. Then I meet with the other one. I ended up going with the guy who didn't still have the tag from the store on his pants. So, which honestly,
that's a good lesson in life.
it was a great lesson in life, and it ended up becoming the best decision I made in my life, because he's been a lifelong friend of mine now. We stay in touch constantly. Great dude, great human being, and he's done some great stuff for himself. So it was an awesome decision. And he said, "Hey, listen, I'll pay for you to train, but if you don't get drafted, you got to pay me back." So I was like,
"Oh wow,
all right, cool." So I've busted my freaking tail. I moved in with my cousin down in Dallas. Just went up there, slept in my car in the afternoon, did 2-a-days every day, and busted my freaking tail. Ended up, I didn't even get invited to the combine. No, none of that stuff. So I did my pro day and ended up getting the opportunity to get drafted a little bit later that year. Got drafted to the New York Jets and went through OTAs, went through training camp, made it to the final cuts, get cut after the final cuts. So I had literally a duffel bag that had a pair of jeans and a couple shirts in it. I go to the hotel. I get a call later that day from the Dolphins, and they're like, "Hey, can you pass a conditioning test?" I said, "Yeah, of course. I just passed one here." All right, we just claimed you off waivers. Your flight leaves from LaGuardia in 2 hours. I was like, "Oh,
stop!"
Yeah, so I had nothing on me. I had a duffel bag with a couple pairs of pants and a shirt. But no, so that was pretty cool. Ended up not dressing a single game my rookie year. But my agent actually was pretty good friends with the GM there at the time. And he told him, he said,
"Is that Jeff?"
Yeah, it was Jeff. Yeah. So he was good friends with Jeff. And he told Jeff, he's like, "Listen, if y'all cut him, I'm sending him back to New York for practice squad. He's not going to stay there." So they kept me on the active roster the whole year because of that. Instead of being sent back and bouncing back and forth and becoming that journeyman guy, I got to stick there. Going into the second year thinking, all right, I got to ball out, got to do my best and whatever I can do. Work my tail off all year, all off season, get into training camp that year, bust my butt. I make it to the final cut, make it past that final cut. Go to the team dinner, a little celebratory dinner we have after final cuts. So the team they come together, the final team, And then I go home, take a nap, and I wake up and I have 4 missed calls from Jeff. They cut me.
No.
Yeah, it was crazy. So they cut me then. I was like, I must have been the 53rd man on the roster is what it was, because we had a tight end get hurt that last day of training camp. So he got hurt. They didn't know what was going to happen with him. So they had to bring in another tight end, and they needed a roster spot, and I was the 53rd man. So they cut me.
Wow.
I ended up coming back. They signed me to practice squad. I'm on practice squad for 2 days. They signed me back. They pulled me out of position meetings and bring me upstairs. I signed a 2-year contract. So I was like, this is amazing. Nothing crazy. The rookie minimum, not rookie minimum deal for my second year and all that. And I'm like, all right, this is amazing. Awesome. I ended up dressing every single game that year, and I started 9 that season.
Wow.
And also in that season was the game that honestly set my career off. I don't remember which week it was, but we were playing up the Panthers on a Thursday night that year. And I go into the game. I'm starting at left guard. We had Justin Smiley, who was nursing a shoulder injury, so I started it for him. He's coming in every other series, trying to come back just to see how his shoulder's holding up.
Yep.
When he comes in, I bump over to right guard. Okay, so they throw me to right guard. When he'd come in, a little bit through the first quarter, Vernon Carey, the right tackle, goes down with back spasms. So I kick out the right tackle. They keep the guy that I was bumping out at right guard, and Smiley has to play now for a little bit. So Vernon goes out for, I think it was just 2 series or something like that. So then he comes back in. I go back to bouncing left and right guard. Our starting center goes down, high ankle sprain. So our backup center comes in 2 plays later. He goes down with the MCL sprain. There's only 5 guys that are dressed left that are healthy. We're standing on the sideline. They're like, "Hey, which one of y'all can snap?" Literally, because the 2 centers, you only take 2 centers to a game normally. Both of them are down now. And I look at him, I say, "Coach, I actually practiced snapping to your son-in-law when we were at Arkansas. I just randomly did it, wanted to try to get better. It wasn't for the NFL. Sure. It was just in case we needed it at Arkansas." So the first time I ever played center in a game was an emergency third center in the middle of a freaking drive against the Panthers on Thursday Night Football. So I go in, we end up scoring on the drive. The backup center ends up getting his knee taped up, coming back in, and I go back to playing left and right guard. And then I actually get hurt in the fourth quarter. Yeah, I get a bone bruise on my tibia. So, like, everyone except the left tackle was basically playing hurt. It was crazy.
Wow. Did you stay in the game?
Actually, they pulled me out of the game at that point.
They pulled you out.
Yeah, they told me I shouldn't have been able to walk, but I ended up playing the next week too. So
That's crazy. That is wild. So that's year
that was year
2 in the NFL.
Year 2.
Got it. And how many years did you stay
I
in the
got
NFL?
7. I got 7 years. Oh,
Good for you, man. That is amazing. That is incredible. As you and I are just joking, like that is not an easy accomplishment. And kudos to you. I remember you and I met because we were building TV studios. And as you mentioned, being like that computer nerd and you were going to get a job out of school, you came in and you're like, what kind of gear you got in here? And you used to come in and hang out with us in the production studio.
Yeah, man. I love that type of stuff. Like I did editing when I was in high school. I ran our high school TV station, and I've been into photography and all that stuff as well. And when we had Hard Knocks, I was hanging out with all those guys in their trailer and all that stuff too. Just I love that stuff. I'm a techie kind of guy, and it's just what I am. Like
I talk about that year a lot.
I
talk about that year a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Those guys are the best at what they do, right? So you get like this incredible, like top level production crew arriving into your facility for somebody like me, and you're like me. We're like, oh my God, I want to pick your brains. I want to, you remember Jesse Agler was our broadcaster. Jesse was nerding out with those guys every day. Like, let me see what you got over there.
I still stay in touch with them about every couple of months. We hit each other up with their lead producer, actually.
Yeah. Was it Rob?
Yeah, he went to work for EA Sports and all that. Yeah.
Did he really?
Yeah, it was an awesome dude, man. So I stay in touch with him.
So fast forward. So all right, so we go 7 years in the NFL, and then how does that all finish up?
So I ended up getting a pretty bad head injury in 2014, and that took me legit about 3 years to recover from. I was getting 20-something migraines a month. Like it was a miserable time of my life. Like I honestly
3 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had contemplated suicide. I was hurting so bad at some points. No joke. Like it was very, very bad time in my life. So thankfully I got through that dark period of my life. I ended up having a buddy who was trying to rehab a high school program in South Florida. He took it over as the head coach. They had like 30 kids on the roster in a like 3,000 kids school. So like less than like 1% of the kids in the school were playing football.
In South Florida. Yeah. So for folks who aren't from South Florida or never spent time in South Florida, high school football is pretty big. Yeah. Like if the high schools down there take their football very seriously, so to have that small percentage of kids playing high school football says a lot about the program.
Oh yeah, it had been running to the ground. The kids had been lied to, and it was just a very bad situation. So he took it over. That's kind of what his whole history has been. He just traveled kind of around the United States rehabbing programs. So they asked him,
that's amazing.
Oh, it was really good. He rehabbed some JUCOs, some like D3 NAI schools, all that stuff. Just been all over the place as the head coach, just doing that. So he ended up being good friends with one of. I got to rewind a little bit. I forgot to tell you this part. So the day I get on that flight to LaGuardia, right, or from LaGuardia to Miami, I end up meeting this couple on the plane. No joke. Their names are Barb and Ken.
Okay.
Like, I'm meeting Barbie and Ken from Miami. Like, what is this? Like this is crazy. So,
Kid from Arkansas.
And I'm from Arkansas. I'm like, okay. And she's Cuban and he's from Texas. So it's like it's a crazy little conglomeration. They're amazing people. They became like my adoptive parents in South Florida. No joke.
Oh wow.
I actually ended up living with them for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks until my house got ready. That I ended up renting down there. Yeah.
That's incredible.
It was, and just for meeting them on the plane. Like I sat on next to them for a 3-hour plane ride, and they ended up letting me live with them. So it was.
You have that infectious personality, though. Like it's very easy to get to know you very quickly and be like, dude, I like this guy.
I try to be like that. I've always been try to be a good person, and my parents raised me the right way. So just try to be polite to people and kind and treat them the way I'd like to be treated. Yeah. So that was just a funny, crazy little caveat of that. They're the friends that introduced me to this guy. So that's where that story comes from. So they introduced me to him. He's like, hey, man, just come help me. I need you to teach my O-line coach how to coach O-line. Like, he doesn't really know. He needs some guidance and all this. And maybe you can help me call some plays. Maybe you can kind of help me not recruit, but get some of the kids from the school to come out and play just by having your name around. Yep. So I go there, and I got there like the beginning of training camp, like the first or second practice of training camp that year. I go up. By the end of training camp, we're at like 130 kids. So we gained 100 kids just in that little 2-week window.
Amazing,
So
dude.
they end up having, I think we ended up going like either 5-5 or 4-6. Not a crazy dramatic thing, but they had like 4 more wins than they had the year before.
Yep.
So
Progress.
yeah, big progress. It was awesome. Got my feet wet coaching, and I enjoyed the crap out of it. It was awesome. So especially when I was getting to sit up in the booth, I got to call a few plays every once in a while.
Yeah.
I got to teach the O-line coach, which is really cool. It was my first real caveat of teaching how to coach O-line.
Yep.
So, and that was how to coach, not coaching. So that was a little bit different. So I enjoyed that. And then I got the opportunity to go spend some time with New Orleans Saints, thanks to Jeff, actually. Jeff brought me.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And
he was great, dude. He was a great guy.
He's awesome. I stay in touch with him right now. Like he just interviewed for the Chargers.
I saw that. Side note, I went to Australia to speak at a conference in Australia, and I was invited to go to tour the rugby stadium and see a rugby game.
Okay.
And I get there, they're like, "Oh, you're from what's that?"
That's New Zealand. I was saying the All Blacks.
Yes, correct. Yeah, this was part of their the Australian Rugby League, and I get there, they're like, "Oh, you're from the Miami Dolphins. There's another guy from the Dolphins here," and I'm like, "There's no way there's another guy from the Miami." It was Jeff.
No way.
And yeah, he was there. He embedded with the coaching staff for a few days to just see the culture and see what they were building. It's like they bring me down to the sidelines. We had this photo of him and I on the sidelines. Yeah, it was really cool. He was a great guy.
That is amazing. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. It was awesome. And
so you went to the Saints?
I went to the Saints for, I think it was like a week or two during the 2018 training camp. So I went to spend some time down there, just trying to embed myself with the O-line, learn as much as I could. Alex Gibbs, who was like the inventor of the zone scheme, was there doing a clinic for their O-line. So I got to learn from the guy who created it back in the day.
Wow.
So it was amazing. He's passed away in the last couple of years, but it was awesome to learn from him and just be around those guys, having those guys pick my brain a little bit. Like Teron Armstead was there, the guy that's at the Dolphins now. Yeah. So I got to talk with him a little bit, and he was picking my brain just about some of the stuff that I've been through and all that. And he's had an amazing career. Like, I'm super proud of what he's done, and especially down in Miami, he's really played his tail off. I wish he could just stay healthy. That's the only thing. Yeah, trust me, I know that feeling.
Half the battle. Yeah, right. That's half the battle.
But yeah, so I did that, and then I actually got to go up to the University of Arkansas and spend some time up there during the 2018 season as well. So got to be around that staff and just same thing, kind of getting my feet wet, but getting into coaching a little bit. Yep. And then I ended up not doing anything really the rest of that year. I just dabbled back with my buddy at that little small school in South Florida. Yep. And then the next year I just hit up a few people. The coaching thing was weird to me back then. Like, I could have taken way more advantage of my time in New Orleans and Arkansas. And I wish I would have done that looking back at it. But I was so worried about learning O-line play and developing as an O-line coach. I didn't think about the networking aspect of coaching and growing my tree and growing my community of people that I know and that I communicate with. And that's one of my big takeaways from that point in my life was, hey, I got to talk to everyone, not just the freaking O-line guys, not just staying in that little small world. So I go back. I end up not doing anything all of 2018, the rest of 2018. 2019 comes around. I'm reaching out to people, trying to find a job, wanting to coach at a higher level, trying to get my foot in the door somewhere. One of my buddies who I'd met at the coaching convention, he was a former NFL player. He was coaching up in New York somewhere. I forget which one of those schools up there. But he hit me up just out of the blue right around training camp time, or right after training camp was over. And he's like, "Hey man, there's a coach down there coaching at a JUCO in South Florida who just lost his O-line coach. You might want to go help him out." So their O-line coach actually left at the end of training camp, and I ended up getting there week 3 of the season. So I come in, I take over the O-line there, and we ended up going from averaging 50 yards a game rushing to 150 yards a game rushing.
Nice.
From that point to the rest of the season, it was drastic. Yep. They played their freaking tails off of me. Some really good talent there and awesome. And surprisingly, where I'm at now, I have one of those kids who came and played for me up here. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So talk about full circle. It was.
Yeah, it's everything. No, but that's identifying talent and them identifying a coach that connects with them.
Oh, yeah.
As you know, it's a difference maker.
It's awesome. So I did that, and then COVID hit. So COVID hits. Wow. They furlough us. They're like, "Hey, you still got to recruit full time, but you're not going to get paid." I'm like, wow. I don't know if I want to do that. And so I end up going to this as part of a coach on that coaching staff. There's a big thing they do at the Hard Rock every year. for all South Florida coaches and small schools to come in. South Florida high school coaches, I should say, and all the small colleges to come in. And so I go in there. I end up meeting Roger Harriet, who's the head coach at St. Thomas Aquinas.
Yep.
And we end up having a conversation. Twan Russell, I know you know Twan.
Yeah, Twan's the best.
He was their linebackers coach at the time.
Oh, wow.
Jason Taylor was their D-line coach / defensive coordinator. Like there was a bunch of guys. Troy Drayton.
Was Sam Madison coaching there at the time?
I think he might have been coaching, but he had just left, I believe.
He was just leaving. Yeah. It was like they had like their coaching staff was all like just incredible talent.
It was amazing. So he ends up offering me the O-line job there. I end up going and coaching there for 2 years.
I didn't know you went there.
Yeah, I developed
that's amazing.
Like eight Power 5 offensive linemen while I was there. It was awesome. Still stay in touch with a lot of those guys.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was a great experience and an awesome time. Like honestly, I really enjoyed my time there. I was just kind of done with South Florida. I had kids, didn't want to raise them down there, just not the kind of life I grew up with, and I wanted them to have more of a life like I did. So I ended up looking for jobs everywhere, and I there's this website called the Football Scoop. I don't know if everyone knows about it or not, but it's where all basically coaching job positions are posted. Like any vacancy that happens, anytime a new head coach is hired, like even from NFL all the way to NAIA, they're all there.
Wow.
So it's all one little conglomeration of everything. So I go on there, I find looking for O-line coaches, just find a couple places that needed them, applied to the school I'm at, just shot my resume to the head coach, shot my resume to another head coach at a rival school of this one. I'm at Limestone University, by the way. So, right. So I shot my resume here. I actually interviewed for this job with the head coach. He's like, all right, I'll call you back in a couple of days to let you know if you get the job or not. I end up looking on the Football Scoop. He just got fired. Shortly after I got the interview. So I ended up getting an interview with the other school I applied to and interview with him. He offers me the job like the next day. And that same day, the Limestone University hits me up and says, hey, you want to interview for the O-line job? The new head coach. His name is Mike Furry. He was part of the Greatest Show on Turf back in the day. He was awesome. Incredible. Awesome dude. Awesome. We have an awesome staff. And so I ended up interviewing with him. I kind of held off on the other school and said, hey, listen, let me talk to my family. I got to weigh some decisions here. They offered me the job here at Limestone. So I'm like, all right. I talked to my wife. We're evaluating it. The head coach there said, hey, listen, y'all can keep your house in Florida, live there in the off season, and then come up here for a spring ball, training camp, and all that stuff. I'm like, all right, that's perfect. Great. So and it was a lot closer to an airport than the other school. So that way the wife and kids could fly up or whatever and figure it out. So I take the job here at Limestone, find out our staff head coach is Mike Furry. So he played 8 years in the league. Our receivers coach is Jericho Cotchery, who played 12 years in the league. I actually played with him in New York. Crazy. Just for that training camp. But still, he remembered me. I remembered him. Awesome dude. Our running back coach is Jordan Todman, who played 7 years in the league. And then at the time, our D-line coach was Anthony Hargrove, who was part of the whole issue down in the Saints back in the day.
Got it.
So, but it was an amazing coaching staff. We have a ton of fun. We ended up taking over this program. They were 0-9 the year before we got here. We go 8-3 in our first year and make the playoffs. Nice. Amazing. Like that's unheard of. Like it ties for all-time biggest turnaround in NCAA history. So going from 0-9 to freaking 8 wins. It was an amazing swing. So had a great job that year. Past off season, we redid our defensive staff. Head coach brought in a couple of guys that have been calling it for a while, and they do a great job for us. Defense took off this year. Our offensive staff stayed pretty much the same, which is awesome. Okay. So our offense led the conference both years. Like we've crushed it. So just having a lot of fun, and now we've reloaded again. I got a powerhouse offensive line now. We ran the ball for over 2,000 yards both seasons that I've been here, which is amazing. Like that's great. Here.
I love it.
And then we've thrown.
It sounds amazing. It sounds like the path that you originally set out to do was not this. You had no idea. No. Unlocked something special, and it's awesome. So all of that, right? So you from the kid who got kind of tricked into playing football to now 7 years in the NFL, go through head injury, 3 years of trauma, right? To now giving back and coaching and finding this new passion. What's as you take a step back from all that, the lesson, things that that this is all based on things that we can take from a game to help be happy and
Yeah.
successful in life. What's something that you take away from it all that really helps you, find that happiness and success for
For
yourself?
me, it's overcoming adversity. Like I've dealt with it my entire life. Like I grew up in a single wide trailer in nowhere, Arkansas, and just dealt with a lot of adversity in my life there. Dealt with a lot of adversity in high school. Like I said, I only played one play my senior year. Dealt with bullying issues and all this stuff where I was a soft kid, but it molded me into who I am today. And I'm a lot tougher person
Mhm.
because of it. I became who I was in the league because of that. Went through Arkansas another time, blew my shoulder out. So physical adversity there, mental adversity of not being able to even step on the field till my fourth year, and then not even stepping again until my fifth year. I only played one game. So
Wow.
yeah, so it was just all that stuff just helped me grow into who I am and try to teach how to overcome adversity, how to just deal with that hardship that you have to deal with in life to become a better person. And I think that's something that I've really embraced, and I really enjoy helping young kids understand that, young men understand that.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, my career path was a little kind of clunky along the way, and there have been some low points as well. And I can visually remember moments in my life where I flipped the switch to say, "Oh, hell no. No, 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 no. I'm not going down that path." Like you talked about, some pretty dark
Oh yeah,
moments. Is there a moment that you remember where you were like, "Oh, hell no. We're turning this thing around."
yeah. I was actually driving back from a doctor's appointment. Um, I was on 95 heading south. My head was just literally felt like it was going to explode on the side of the highway. I ended up having to pull off the side of the highway, and it went through my head. Just freaking jump out the car in front of a car, and it's just put this freaking pain
Wow.
out of your head because I was hurting that bad. And I was just like, no, screw that. You can't do that. You got a family. I didn't have a family. Did I have a family at the time? I did have a family at the time. We had just found out we were having a
Yeah.
son around the same time all this happened.
Wow.
So yeah, I had a wife and a child on the way. So I was like, screw it. I gotta focus in and do this for them, tough it out, suck it up, do whatever you got to do to be there for your family. And so I did
Yep.
that, and I ended up making it home. Thankfully, I barely could see half the
Yeah.
time because my head was hurting so bad. Laid down and then woke up the next day and just said, listen, I got to go figure out where I can get better. And I did all kinds of different things. Like at one point I was taking like 30 something pills a day. I tried Botox. I've tried all kinds of stuff just to make my head hurt. And literally it just took time. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And that 3 year window freaking was miserable. But now I'm down to, I might get one or two a month. Thankfully, I'm a little bit better now.
Wow.
Still get them, but they're not near as bad as
You
they
still
were.
get them.
And I got medicine I can take that helps me recover, and only knocks me
Yeah.
out for a couple hours now instead of days at a time.
Days.
Yeah,
Wow. That's wild, man. Well, look, the amazing thing about you that I've continued to watch through your life as I keep up with you on on the gram, but like is that energy and that passion and that good heart and that wanting to like give back and do the right thing and I'm just so I never knew you went through all of that and
not many
like
people
to
know. Of
yeah, dude, I'm thank you for sharing. I
course.
mean, I know it's personal and real and I've shared some of the stuff that I've gone through
Oh
and
yeah,
it's rough, man. And I think it's important that people realize that um today and social media and all the things that you see, it's a filtered version of what people want you to see,
100%.
right? And it can appear to be perfect. I mean, what kid today doesn't dream of being an NFL
Yeah.
player,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And it was amazing. I know I was there when you were doing it, and it was pretty cool. And you
Awesome.
guys were, but I watched you guys battle every day. I mean, it and the cuts and the, you. I used to say this all the time, like you build a relationship with a guy who gets cut, it's
Oh
over,
yeah.
it's gone. Like and he's on tomorrow, he's on a plane, and that's over, and that's how it works. And you were the same thing with your teammates. I mean,
Oh
we
yeah.
we had a special relationship because you loved gear and we would hang
Facts.
out. But like similarly, like there were guys that you were way closer with than me that then they're just
Oh
gone.
yeah. The locker next to me was literally a revolving door. I probably had at least 15 or 20 guys in the 7 years that I was there in the locker right next to me. And
Did they start to question whether you were bad luck?
yeah, I guess. And one of them, you know, the crazy thing, remember during Hard Knocks, we had Ocho Cinco. He was in the locker right next to me. I was like, wow.
That's amazing.
Like, one, crazy to see this like superstar next to me. And then two, crazy to see that he's freaking gone too, just like the rest of the freaking.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Fast. That was a crazy time. It was that whole season was wild. Yeah. All right. So you've been a football player. You're now a coach.
Yep.
You know a lot about hot seats. You know a lot about feeling that pressure, the burn coming behind you. So this is one of the fun parts of the show. We go rapid fire questions. So fun, kind of get to know you a little bit and have a little fun at the same time. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Here we go. Toughest person you ever had to play against?
Mario Williams.
Why?
Friggin' long, strong, fast. Like it was tough to block him.
The moment you remember most from your playing career?
Making Vince Wilfork laugh. So in the middle of the game.
Tell it now.
All right, so I wore the same numbers and we both were 75. And he knocked the crap out of me one play. And I come back at him with, bro, what's up with all the 75 on 75 violence, man? He just laughed, went back to the huddle. I had a great game the rest of the game because it kind of disarmed him a little bit. So
that's amazing.
Oh yeah,
I love it. You've become a coach now. Is there a coach in your life that made all the difference in the world to you?
Man, Tony Sperano, dude. He gave me my first shot. Like, God rest his soul, man. I was one of like 4 or 5 guys from the Dolphins that went up there during his funeral, and honestly, he was a turning point in my life and the reason why I was able to make it so long in the league.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I only had a few interactions with him. They were all great, but yeah, it's always interesting when you're on the. I mean, I was on the inside outside, right? Yeah. But like, you don't know what's going on between coaches. The Hard Knocks gives you a little glimpse into it, but like to see that an NFL coach could be that person, I was expecting like your high school coach or your like to hear that an NFL coach was the guy.
Oh, he was for real. Amazing. He was awesome. Like he was even trying to help me get into coaching. Like I've been messaging with him, trying to figure out my path and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden I hear he passed away. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, yeah.
Yeah. It's sad. That was a sad one. Yeah. Teammate that you would least like want to go to dinner with.
Least want to go to dinner with.
That you just, it's going to be, or like it's going to be a feast. Or all right, how about this way? I'll rephrase it.
Yeah.
Get stuck with the tab from someone's dinner. That was where I was trying. I phrased the question wrong, but it was more like want to be across the table of how much food somebody could eat.
Shoot, any of the alignment really. Like, we used to bill up for those rookie dinners. So
yeah, so did you guys have this is a side, but did you guys have like an O-line like place where you guys would go eat all the time?
Oh, they're in Miami, yeah, it was always Prime 112. Yeah. We go down to South Beach and tear that place up. Oh, yeah.
That'll get pricey right there. That's
oh yeah. The average rookie dinner was like between $8,000 to $12,000. That's an average one.
Wow.
If we really wanted to run it up, it could get up pretty high. I think the highest one we had was like 27.5 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
And
for one dinner.
Some big name guy. Was that some high draft pick rookies in that class?
Yeah, it was a first round pick in that class. I don't want to throw his name out there, but yeah.
Yeah, I have a sense of where that was in the timeline, so that makes a lot of sense. I love it. I love the sort of the back and forth that you guys all have with each other.
O-line are the tightest group, man. It's awesome.
Best stadium you played in the NFL?
Man, that's a tough one. I think probably, that is tough. Honestly, the best stadium would have been the Jets Stadium at that point because that was the brand new MetLife was brand new up there. So that was probably the best one. Best atmosphere, obviously, I got to say Miami. But as far as the stadium, they hadn't rebuilt it yet like it is now. Now it's absolutely amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Back then, it wasn't the best.
Yeah, no, it was time, but they've done an amazing job with it. Okay, last one, pregame ritual.
I got dressed the same way every time. Like that. That I was always the first person to get taped. I would get there 3 hours before the game, go get taped, get an IV, get dressed, and then go out and do my warm up. And I had this 300-yard warm-up thing that I would do every pregame. Then I'd do some of my pass sets and all that. And then I'd go in and throw my pads on and get ready to rock.
Love it. All right. The last piece of the podcast is providing value. So for us, it's about, this is the younger version of me, the younger version of you stumbles across this, and we were able to kind of give them a little bit of insight into, you know, the path that you've been on and then the journey. What advice would you give somebody who wanted to become an offensive lineman?
Becoming an offensive lineman, huh?
Yeah, like when you're coaching a kid right now, like that's your specialty, right? You have dove into that. We talked about all the accomplishments you've had as a player, but I'm really impressed by how you've turned that into now teaching other young men how to do that and become successful. What's the secret to the success?
Man, the biggest thing is just being tough. Like, you got to be tough, man. You can't get hurt all the time. You can't feel sorry for yourself in any moment. You got to be humble. You got to be able to. I tell my guys, like, hey, when does the spotlight shine on offensive linemen? When it's negative. Only when it's negative. So listen, learn to move in the shadows.
Wow.
Freaking work your tail off no matter what. When no one's looking, freaking working your tail off. Figure out a way to get a little bit better every single day. Put the maximum amount of work in, and always finish plays. Like, that's the biggest thing. Finish plays and work your freaking tail off nonstop.
Is there any moment that you look back on your career that you would have changed?
In my playing career, no. In my coaching career, yeah. We kind of talked about that.
Okay.
I don't think I did anything negative in my playing career. I think I worked my tail off, like I said, did exactly what I just said there. Worked my tail off, found ways to get better every single day, and found ways to put my body in the right position. But coaching-wise, looking back on it, I wish I would have taken advantage of those opportunities. Like going to the Saints.
Yep.
Like I said, I dove in so deep into the O-line that I didn't get Sean Payton's number. I didn't get any of the other guys in there's number and stay in contact with him. I talked to him and developed a microcosm of a relationship, but I didn't sustain that. So that looking back, that's something I would tell myself is, hey, listen, all the people that you're around, I had great relationships with guys. I talked to everyone in the building. Like, obviously, I talked to you. I talked to all the video guys. I still talk to, I don't know if you remember Nino DePatrick, one of the video.
Okay, yeah.
I was just talking to him yesterday. Like, I talk to him all the time. So,
I love it.
But like, I developed great relationships with a lot of people. I just didn't take advantage of setting myself up in the coaching world.
Yeah, one of the things that's interesting to kind of layer onto that is when you have a path beyond where you are today, you can start to utilize what you have today. I think a lot of players miss that, is that if you know what your post-career looks like, I think the NFL is doing a much better job of helping guys think about that. I see them doing it. The Dolphins lost an incredible human in Jason Jenkins. And I was following, I love Jason and watching what he was doing and some of the incredible, the programs that he was working on with the organization to help players in the community to understand what was going on during some pretty tough times across our country and in South Florida, and to work with NFL players and the community to come together to do that, but then to also bring them to these amazing places. You're seeing groups like Fanatics doing that now, bringing players in to learn about the business and what could be next. Because for you, right, if you had said coaching's next for me, you start thinking differently in those moments. You're going, and I think that's a big lesson for people of like looking beyond just today, right? Like, yes, the beauty about what you did as a player is, it's not forever. Sometimes when you're in a career, you think it may be, but it's not, right? If it can be, but if you're pushing harder, it's not.
You always want to keep striving and getting better every day. Like I said, you want to stack those good days on good days, and you want to find something to reach for. So if you have nothing to reach for, you get stagnant.
That's a huge one for me, is that like if you're reaching, and then you're able to take advantage of those relationships. And the networking is such a big, and obviously being in the NFL on the business side, it's player side is even better. Everybody wants to have a conversation with you. Like everybody's willing to extend. And the one thing that I found, and I'd love to hear, like, most people are willing to help.
Yeah, 100%.
Like you just mentioned Sean Payton, like those guys are everybody's willing to help. Like, especially when you've been in the club that you're in.
Exactly. That was an awesome thing, especially in South Florida. That just having the Dolphins tied to you was awesome. I had an instant network of people I could be around just by saying that. Like no matter where I went, someone would be like, "Hey, I'll help you out," whatever. It's a little harder when you get out of that little localized, regionalized area. But as you get further displaced from it too. Like now I'm the offensive line coach at Limestone. I'm not the Miami Dolphin. You know what I mean? So I go to places in Gaffney, South Carolina. Cool. They say hi, you know what I mean, and talk to us. Outside of here, there's no one knows what freaking Limestone is. Like I'd never heard of Limestone University in my entire life. You know what I mean? Like I bet you haven't either.
Right. No, I always see it on your stuff. That's like I learned it from keeping up with you.
The only place you would have seen it is if you watched House of Cards. They actually mentioned it on there, which is crazy.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's great. I love it. Yeah, I mean that to me is a big one of understanding how to parlay those things and build those relationships. And I love that. I have two last questions for you. When you look at coaching and we talked about somebody who wanted to get in, be an offensive lineman. Cool. Now, what about somebody who wanted to become a coach? What are some of the key things and the things that somebody could do to become a great coach?
You want to know the crazy thing I'm finding out right now? It's about the guys who started coaching earlier. Like guys who start coaching right when they get into college. They become an undergraduate assistant and just dive into that coaching aspect of it. The only negative to that is they lose a little bit of credibility with players as the players get older. But they're able to develop the credibility throughout their career by having success. Like our offensive coordinator my first year here was 25 years old. He was an awesome dude, great play caller. He ended up taking a job at another university where he became the quarterback's coach, but he was calling the plays. But he's an awesome dude, great human being, freaking worked his tail off and never played in college. And because of that, he grew as a coach sooner. So honestly, if that is, that's your path coming out of high school, you might not even play if that's truly your path, I like guys that played personally just because it gives you a little bit more credibility in the room instantly with the guys. But you also now got to build your track record and you're starting behind the 8 ball on those guys that started when they were 18. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because I didn't start coaching until I was, what would that be, 2017. So I was 32.
Wow.
So it took a while.
Yeah, that's a difference. Yeah, you're right. You're that's the one thing. Another thing that we talk about with athletes a lot is if they have the blessings of a long career, it delays the transition to what's next, right? So it's this double-edged sword of this amazing thing on the front end, but it does delay that transition. And on the media side, I worked with a lot of former athletes as well who similarly were like kind of in the middle area of going, I don't know what the next 30 years of my life look like. I don't know what I want to do, and trying to help them kind of figure that out. All right, last question. And I ask this to everybody because I love hearing the answer. This conversation went from some highs, some lows, and I always like to leave it on a high. What's the best part about what you get to do every day?
Men, helping men grow into be great human beings, great fathers, great husbands, hopefully one day, and just be great athletes at the end of the day. That's the biggest thing, is helping them develop and grow as human beings. I love it.
Yeah. The thing that I say it after I ask that question to everybody is the biggest thing for me with this podcast is letting people know when you find out what makes you happy every day, right? Sports is fortunate because it's aspirational. Yeah. If you're a young kid and you can play football, right? You're pretty popular. Everybody you grow and you go to the NFL. That's pretty amazing. And it's the society says that's success, right? It's amazing. There are also people who like to, do pottery, and it's like, it's okay. Go do that. Crush it, man. It's great. Like, do you. Don't worry about trying to be what Nate was. Don't worry about trying to be what Wayne was. Like, do what's best for you. And I love that you found that for you post-playing career. was sad to hear what you went through in the interim, but I know all the stuff that we go through through the peaks and the valleys prepare us for where we are today. And to see what you're doing today and how happy you are doing it and all the success, and I'm proud of you, man. I'm happy to call you a friend. I'm really excited to see everything that you've been doing, and thank you for taking the time to share it with us here today.
Of course, man. No worries.